Hello. How are you doing tonight? I'm just getting on here for an impromptu live, seeing if anybody wants to BS about the different things that I've got up on TikTok today, because it seems like it generated a bit of negativity, I guess you will. And I just got done from working out, and I decided I would take a break, jump on live, see if anybody. I've never done, well, that's not true. I rarely do an impromptu, so this is not scheduled like I normally do. So anyways, I'm just going to hang out and see if anybody stays. So far nobody's staying, so this may be a short wrap. We'll see. But maybe some of the regulars will come in and they'll have an opportunity to talk more freely, because usually I just do all the talking, and so I will talk now like I usually do until somebody comes in and says hi. Welcome to the people who are jumping in. I don't recognize the names yet, so I'm seeing if I recognize any names. Hey, welcome back. So yeah, if you have something on your mind and you don't normally get to talk, you've been in the room before, but I'm just talking a million miles an hour, I will slow down at some point and answer questions from you if you have them, or invite you up to the mic, because I don't have anything scripted or planned for tonight. So if this is an opportunity you want to jump on here and share some thoughts, you're welcome to do that. I might take a risk with that. I'm in a weird mood. So, but I don't even know how long this mood's going to last. So we'll stay here and see what happens for a little bit, and see how it goes. Kelly and Terry, thanks for joining in. Nobody's staying very long, so this may be a short thing. Usually I have it scheduled on Wednesdays and Friday nights. I got a special episode coming up on tomorrow night after the new Luigi Mangione special. Who is Luigi Mangione on Investigation Discovery Channel? So I'm going to be doing my first initial takes on that about an hour after that show finishes. And then I will do a more full rundown on it on Wednesday at my normal schedule time, Wednesdays and Fridays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But I will do first take initial thoughts, having just freshly watched the episode when it airs. I don't know if it airs different times across the country. For me, it's going to be 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and it'll be over by 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time tomorrow. So that's my plan, is to watch that. Hey, we've got characters. A lot of times she jumps on the live with me, so if you want to come up, let me know. This is impromptu, so I don't have anything scripted or planned. I'm just got done with the workout. I've been bored all day long, kind of pensive and not feeling myself, so I thought I'd jump on here and see if there's some people to talk to and spur anything exciting. So anyways, so if there's any opportunity for questions to be asked that don't normally get addressed, because I'm usually talking on my scripted stuff, then this would be a good time to throw something out at me. Or join me on the live if you want to have a back and forth about something that's on your mind. I may not have opinions about it, or I may have opinions about it. I follow a couple cases pretty closely now, but I'm always looking for some new stuff to get into as well. Got a few people attacking me today on my videos. It's getting a little bit personal sometimes, but I'm just kind of letting that roll with the flow. But I thought I'd jump on here since people are kind of, being a little, I don't know, sensitive about topics. So I thought I'd jump on here and have an opportunity to have a conversation with one of those people if they wanted to air their grievances with me in a polite and respectful manner. No questions? Nothing? Fire something at me. Anybody got a question? Who the hell am I? What am I doing here? When was the next time I'm going to talk about topic XYZ? Anything like that? I see a lot of new names. Sweet Caroline. Anyways, I see that nickname and that I can't do it. Anyways, yeah. Anyways, Sassy, welcome. Sassy1. We got a Sassy and a Sassy1 and a Sarah. I'm seeing a bunch of names that are kind of new to me. I apologize if you've come in regularly and I'm not recognizing names. Sharon, I maybe have seen before. I'm not sure. But again, if you're not familiar with the Devil's Advocates channel and you want me to explain my thing, my shtick, I will. If you want me to talk about Luigi Mangione or Brian Koberger, I will. If you want to talk about P. Diddy, which doesn't seem to be in anyone's interest, so we've kind of stopped talking about it because people aren't interested as we are in it. So I will talk about what you're interested in and save my interest for that for when you guys get interested. Anything else? Let's see. No questions. Come on, fire something. Give me something. Otherwise, I'll just sit here and ramble until I get bored rambling and just shut the thing off. My sloth is above me. He's chilling. I think he's a little crooked, so I don't know. I may have to fix that later, or maybe I can just fix it. I don't know. We'll leave the sloth for now. Ask Why, that's a name that I see a lot. So Ask Why is a regular, or I think, unless of course there's probably a lot of Ask Whys, and maybe I don't have the 411 correct, but I think Ask Why has been in here before many times. So and then there's that Delicat. Yeah, Delicat. I think I recognize that name too. I should have unplugged that dinger. That's more of a personal thing. I'm a bit of a caretaker for my aunt, who has developed some issues in her later stage of life, and so I caretake for her, and she has a ding bell for when she needs help, and I usually unplug that when I'm going live so that it's not going off in my live, and my wife takes care of things while I'm on a live. But tonight I'm impromptu live, so I didn't think about unplugging that. Boy, I really can just talk nonstop. Where did I learn that gift? I don't know, which is funny, but anyways. Anything else? Comments, questions? I mean, actually, nobody's had anything. I'm just talking to myself. Give me something. Question, anything, anybody? Class, Bueller, showing my age? Come on, give me something. That's just a Pepsi, so nobody freak out. I'm not drinking. Kayla, Angela, welcome to the show, to the live, whatever you want to call it. I'm just looking to chill and hang out with people. But that's a one-sided hangout, because I'm not getting out. I missed most of this. Well, you posted on YouTube. This particular live is completely unplanned. I've only been on for about 15 minutes, so you haven't missed anything. Like, I didn't start at 6 like I normally do. I've only been on here for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes at best. So there's really not much you missed, and I'm not sure it's something that I would post unless this conversation gets really interesting. So it hasn't gotten interesting, but I will assure you, and one, thank you for being interested in what we have to say, but you didn't miss anything. And so hopefully that will be reassuring. What's your theory about who Luigi Mangione was on the phone with? My theory, and I don't know why that comment is blocked, so I'm going to unblock that comment. So my theory is that he had an accomplice of some kind. Either, and let me clarify my position on that. I am not 100% sure that I believe that the shooter was Luigi Mangione. But whoever the suspect was at that particular moment, and I'm not saying Luigi Mangione wasn't in the taxi, and I'm not saying Luigi Mangione wasn't picked up in Altoona. I'm saying I'm not sure that the shooter was Luigi Mangione. But if it was, regardless, that suspect, I believe, is involved with a conspirator. I do not believe that phone call was just a random call from a friend that they decided to take when what was about to happen was on their mind. You're not taking a phone call from a buddy at that time. You're not taking a phone call from your mom, and you're not ordering a pizza. That phone call was something involved with it, which means somebody else knew what was going on, in my opinion. It means somebody either was letting the shooter know that Brian Thompson was on his way out of the hotel and to be looking for him, letting him know who to positively identify so he makes sure he gets the right person. It's something like that. That's my theory about what's going on in the cell phone. I do believe that there was somebody involved with the shooter. Thanks, Lady Capulet, for supporting the channel and being in it again. I really appreciate always having you here. So I thank you so much for that. And this is impromptu, not planned. So I'm kind of catching my breath because I just got off the bike a little bit ago. Do you think they purposely put out his statement on Valentine's Day, or is it just a coincidence? I do think it was on purpose. I think his legal team is well aware of the female fan base that Luigi has, that are clamoring for every single moment of his attention. And so putting it out on Valentine's Day, absolutely, I believe that was a PR stunt. They didn't even have to say anything. It was just like, hey, happy Valentine's Day. So yeah, I think the timing of that was on purpose. Yeah. Good catch, by the way. Good catch. I love it when people. To me, it's another Easter egg. There's a lot of Easter eggs in this case, and having your announcement to to your supporters. I would say fans, but that sounds a little rough. So let's say your supporters on Valentine's Day was probably a very much publicity thing. Great questions. Thank you. Any other? Thanks for the likes, by the way. Again, this is totally impromptu. I don't know how long I'm going to go. This could be another 10 minutes. This could be 2 hours. Who knows? I'm just chilling. I'm chilling on a bored night. Just got done with the workout. I'm feeling pretty good, pretty euphoric at the moment. But it's been a slow day. News-wise, it's been a slow day. Investigation's been a slow day. I've really been in a funk today. So today I'm just kind of trying to revitalize maybe by getting some conversation and doing something. Thank you. You enjoy my videos. I believe character analysis is how I found you. Yeah, thank you so much. Character might be still here in the room. I'm not sure. She jumped in a minute ago. I saw her for a second. I've had character on the show as well as Lady Capulet a couple times each. Maybe character a few more times than Lady as well. But they've been on the show several times. We have different opinions of the Luigi Mangione story and even the Brian Kohberger story, but that's what's great about our discussions, right? Is, as they would point out, if everybody has the same exact opinion, it's not that interesting. So it's good to have differences of opinions and do those things. So this has been what's great about that. Lady, you're working on a video regarding the phone call the suspect is on with. Great. I'm curious, without you having to tip your hand on that video, if you have some kind of new information about it, or you just giving your speculation of what's happening. And there's nothing wrong if it's just your pure speculation. I'm just super curious whether you've learned something more about it. I have not learned anything about it. So yeah, I would love to see it. Love to see it. I try to never steal people's ideas. So I hope you won't think that I would steal your idea and run with it. You know, here's the thing where I get in trouble with. Like, I just recently went on the news, or on a live, or no, on a YouTube. Holy smokes! I went on a TikTok video and I said something about registering for the Pacer court tracking system to find out that Luigi Mangione's date has been moved to March 19th and confirm it, because I was seeing it online. And someone basically accused me of, that was right on his website. That website didn't come out until after my video was made. So there's a lot of times when I say something that somebody else says something right behind me or at the same time. I can't keep up on it all, but it doesn't, I'm not going around stealing people's ideas. I'm covering things as I understand them. So that's my take on that. I think the suspect was on the phone with shareholders who had a grudge against Brian, in my opinion. Yeah, so that's something that I say frequently. Follow the money. There is a good possibility in my mind that that was a professional hit by shareholders that were either afraid of what Brian Thompson was going to say in the upcoming Department of Justice investigation, or payback for what happened under his leadership when they lost nearly $1 billion in like a day when the hack happened of during that whole hacker change health and all that stuff. So who knows? Those are theories that I keep in the back of my mind as well. Good observations. This soda has got a problem. It has been about 5 to 10 degrees in my local area, and we had sodas sitting in the trunk of the car, and they swelled up and almost exploded. So I got this domed cap on my Pepsi, which is weird when I go to drink it, because I keep forgetting that the top of the can is not where it's supposed to be. This feels quite personal. That's why I believe he had some enemies that we don't know about. Sure, I think that's a very strong possibility. And my question to you would be, and I don't know how you feel about Luigi Mangione, but how does that change your feelings about? I guess I would have to know both things. I would have to know how you felt about Luigi Mangione, or how you feel about Luigi Mangione now, and how that will change if you find out that Luigi Mangione either was a hired professional hitman in some way, or wasn't the person and it was a professional hitman and he didn't do this thing for America to make a statement. It was just a framed guy. Like, how would those things change your opinions, if you have any opinions about Luigi Mangione himself, if it's a professional hit? Those are questions that I've often asked. And what I really want to get into, and I haven't done it yet, I don't know what people's tolerance for it is, but I would like to have the bigger conversation. I would, and not tonight, but on my YouTube long form videos, I'd like to have the bigger conversation about healthcare system and about our healthcare system and about corporate elite and corruption in America and class inequality and all these things. The bigger conversation that this has spurred. I would love to have that. I'd support him whether or not he did it. Okay, very good. So it wouldn't lower or change your opinion of him as a person if he wasn't involved and it was a professional hit, or if he was hired as a professional to do it and trained for 6 months when he went off the grid. Would that change your mind if somebody hired and trained him? And I'm not saying I buy into this, but if somebody hired and trained him to pull off a hit because they were trying to protect their financial interest, it changes the narrative, right? Most people in America believe Luigi Mangione did this to basically get back at a corrupt system. And the opposite could be true. That the corrupt system is trying to protect its financial interests by taking out Brian Thompson so he doesn't rat them out during the investigation. And therefore, they're just using their money to silence the scam coming out so that they can protect their money. Does that not change your feeling about it? I don't know if that was the case. And I'm not saying it is. Based on the current evidence, what do you think the outcome of this case will be if you had to guess? Okay, so let me tell you what I think's going to happen and also what I hope happens. I think what's going to happen is Luigi Mangione is going to be found guilty of multiple things. My guess will be that they'll take the death penalty off the table at some point in exchange for a plea bargain of some kind, but he'll still get life in prison. That's my guess of what's going to happen. However, I believe that there's a real possibility that we have set up a situation in America where a jury could decide that he is not innocent, but also not guilty. It's something to the effect of what they call jury nullification, or just simply rendering a not guilty verdict. So it is possible that the jury can be like, yes, we kind of think that he did it. You proved your case. However, and we don't have to explain ourselves. A jury does not have to explain themselves. A jury can just say, we choose to find the defendant not guilty. Whether or not they did the crime or not, they could find them not guilty. So those are what I think is going to happen. I think he is going to, more than likely, I believe he's going to be found guilty and get life in prison. Maybe the death sentence, I don't know. But there is a possibility in my mind that he will get a not guilty verdict, and then they will try to retry it. Well, if they hang the jury, I'm certain they will retry it. And keep in mind, he's up on charges in 3 different court systems. He's up on charges in the state of New York, the federal government, and Altoona, Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania ones are the lightest ones. So if they get him in the Pennsylvania ones, he won't spend life in prison, likely. But they're going to get him on something. That's my opinion. But could they hang the jury? Yeah. And if they hang the jury, they'll retry him. And or they'll get him in one of the other courts. And if they don't hang the jury, there's a possibility of not guilty. Now, if they do the not guilty, I don't think he can be retried unless they completely come up with something new and do another trial. But I hope either for a light sentence or, if lucky, an acquittal. Yeah. A lot of people feel that way, so that's totally understandable. I think New York is make or break for Luigi. The federal case or the state case? You're probably saying the federal case, right? The case that is the Southern District of New York, United States versus Luigi Mangione. Yeah, those are the big ones. The Altoona one is I wouldn't say it's a no, never mind, but it's a not life in prison kind of thing, I don't believe. Hello, Renee. Welcome to the room. Thank you for joining in. And thanks, everyone who's given us likes tonight, by the way. Again, this is an impromptu session. So the likes up there are a little low for a normal night, but this is not a normal night. The concurrent viewers is kind of where we normally have. We have a small following. We're just approaching 5,000 on the account, so it's pretty small following, but I think it's pretty good considering everything. So happy where we're at the moment, so appreciate that. I still believe most of these charges are ridiculous and the feds are grasping for straws. Yeah, it's hard to say. I think there's a lot of things we don't know yet. I think there's a lot of surprises that are going to happen when we get to trial. The number one thing I'm waiting for is I'm waiting to see what happens during the indictment and any tip of the hat that the legal team has and what their defense is going to be. So that's the big thing. Like, let's find out what the defense is going to argue. Is his defense going to say, yeah, he did it, but we need to reconsider how it was done, blah, 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 and whatever. Or do they just say, absolutely, he didn't do it. Here's where you effed up. Here's where you broke the law. Here's where you violated his constitutional rights, and you just got the wrong guy. Like, I really am curious to know what it's going to be, and I'm dying to find out, like, what they're going to use as the defense. Do you think he wanted to get caught at McDonald's, or just can't wrap my head around the mistake? No, I don't think. Here's the thing. I've said this over and over again, and I know people don't always agree with me. I don't believe there were mistakes made. I don't believe him placing the water bottle, the shooter placing the water bottle on top of a garbage can in plain view of a camera was a mistake. I don't think dropping the cell phone was a mistake. I don't think looking directly into the camera inside the cab was a mistake. I don't think lowering the face mask at the hostel was a mistake, especially considering that supposedly he had roommates for the entire time and never took his mask off even to eat food, but he'll take his mask off in front of a camera because he made a mistake. I don't believe these were mistakes. I don't believe he mistakenly got picked up in Altoona. I don't believe it was a mistake of any of those things. I think those were all very intentional. Just like I believe that the Monopoly money was intentional, the 286 Pokemon reference was intentional, all the Easter eggs were intentional. I believe it was intentional. These are not mistakes, but that's my gut feeling. I wouldn't be surprised if cops planted evidence. Neither would I. I have a theory about the planting of some of the evidence and the roommates as well. I'd love to hear that. If you want to jump on, you probably could do that as well. He could have gamified the entire case just to mess with prosecution. Sorry if that's dumb. I don't think it's dumb at all. I think, again, he formed a game club at his university, right? He formed the... what was it called? Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the acronym of the game club. But he formed a game club. He was a co-founder of a game club, and they practiced game theory and all these things for developers of games. He's very game-oriented, game-minded. So yeah, it's not... and then you throw the Monopoly thing in and the Pokemon thing in, and the gamifying of this situation is 100% where my mind went when I saw what I was seeing. So yes, I'm on the same page as you with that. Lady Capulet, thanks for the gifts, by the way. I appreciate it. Like, it's nice to feel like there's appreciation and support for the channel and all these things, and that's awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see. I would love him more if he would just have finished the job making Trump disappear. Oh, careful, careful. Let's not get ourselves in trouble with the TikTok lords or get too political. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. I get it, but I'm not going to touch politics, hopefully with the 10-foot pole too much, and we're certainly going to be careful about that one, and you know why. I still have the thought that Luigi could have been misidentified by tracking software. Sure, absolutely. There's all kinds of discussions going on that different facial recognition systems have been used on the photos, and they can't identify him as Luigi Mangione, saying it's not the same person. Of course, the officials are going to tell you it's just a trick of camera angles and lighting and blah, 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 and all those things. So we'll see. Again, the kicker is going to be, will the defense argue those images, or will the defense concede, yeah, that's him, but it doesn't matter? Like, are they just gonna concede those things, or are they gonna fight every piece of evidence? Are they gonna prove that was him in the picture, prove that was him, that not somebody who just looked like him, prove that he was, let's see. I don't know. I'm really curious. Can they withhold federal charges till his done trial with the state charges? Well, I believe, I think the state does get to go first. I believe that they said the state was going to get to go first, even though we're waiting for the federal indictment. I think the state gets to try their case first. Federal government, I think, is the backup position, basically to make sure that they get him if the state fails to convict, or they can double dip him, kind of thing. But Mark Rosario, photo does not look like him, even though we know it is. I still believe it was weird that no one recorded the arrest at McDonald's. A lot of us feel that way as well. Absolutely. Hey, look, it's Just Curious who jumps in. I haven't seen Just Curious in a while on my channel, so hey, good to see you. I wish they'd release the body cam footage, right? As I wish as well, but obviously they're keeping it under wraps. I think that's a big problem too, because of the reason why they arrested him in Altoona is not for the incident in New York per se. It was for providing misinformation, a false identification, when they asked him questions like, have you been to New York recently? And then he freaked out. That and the Mark Rosario thing became what they charged him with and booked him and took him in. And then they turned him over to the federal government and the state government to be extradited to New York. So I get to share the SNL 50th celebration. I didn't know they were having a 50th celebration. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. I think they're going to be a hell of a lot more entertaining. So if you want to shut me off, I won't be offended. It's all good. I'm sure Saturday Night Live can't compete with that kind of. That is good. Of course, I haven't seen Saturday Night Live in a long time, but I'm assuming they're still pretty funny. What do you find? What do we find out, if anything, on Friday? Is this just a status conference? Friday's date, is that the state's date? I'm trying to remember. So the federal one was supposed to be coming up, but the federal one got moved to March 19th. I think the state's got something coming up and is it the official indictment or pretrial hearing? I think it might be the pretrial hearing, and we should find out a lot about that if that's the case. I don't have my notes in front of me. I don't have my website up to remember exactly what the state date is and what the state's. It's probably so he's already got the. He's already been not indicted. He has already been charged. So is it the indictment or the pretrial hearing starting that day? I think. They should pull a Brian Kohberger and suppress everything. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's the other story I'm following is Brian Kohberger, of course, and that was a ridiculous gag order in my opinion, and I hate when they do that kind of stuff because obviously then the public doesn't get to have any idea what's going on, and we just have to wait and trust that authorities did everything right, and they'll just tell us what the result is at the end of the day, and we just go, well, I know he's the killer because the authorities told us so. So, there you go. We won't get any pics on the 21st. I don't know. He might be. He might be in court, and I'm sure that there's going to be at least photos going into the courthouse and coming out of the courthouse if the event itself isn't televised. I doubt. Well, no, it could be televised. It could be televised, but I know that New York State supposedly has a thing about not televising court things, from what I understand. So they might not televise it, but there'll at least be a coming and going kind of thing, I believe. It will be the formal indictment starting for Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania's on the 21st. I thought the state of New York was before Pennsylvania, but maybe not. Renegade for Justice said she will be in New York for this Friday. Nice. Nice. I don't watch a lot of Renegade's channel, but I'm familiar with who she is, and I've seen a few of her videos, so it's good that I'll be interested to see what she finds out about that. I don't know why people seem to get upset when you mention that law enforcement and police can lie and stuff. I know, I don't want to completely side tangent this, but law enforcement has been caught many, many, many times making sure the evidence is in place so that a guilty person doesn't walk. And again, I've said you could almost understand why officers do it. They've seen too many people walk for things that they shouldn't walk for. And so if an officer is like, hey, a dog picked up this bloody glove and moved it across the street, and now it's going to make it look suspicious. If I happen to pick it up and put it where it needs to be for the case, then our guy will probably get convicted. But if I have to explain why the glove ended up across the street, he may get off. And I'm not letting this guy get off because a dog walked over there and picked up the glove. So I'm just going to move it back where it's at. Well, there's those of us who believe that you can't just do that. The facts are the facts, and if a dog moved it, you need to explain that. And if the jury doesn't buy it, then that's just a risk you have to take. But there are those in law enforcement who'll be like, I'm not letting a guilty guy get off. I know he's guilty before I've even tried him in a court of law, and so I'm just going to make sure the evidence fits because I'm not watching this guy get off. And it's funny because I made a video about this just today. You may have seen it, and maybe that's what you're commenting on. How it's funny how people are saying in the Brian Kohberger case that, well, Brian Kohberger, the suspect in the Idaho 4 murders, he was a criminal justice major, so maybe he took some blood and purposely planted a couple of unknown DNA samples at the crime scene to throw the police off. And I'm like, it's funny how people will accept the idea that the criminal will plant evidence, but not that law enforcement will plant evidence. They'll call that a crazy conspiracy theory if you say maybe law enforcement, who has a guy that they want to pin on it, would plant something to make sure that guy goes down for it. That's just crazy conspiracy theory. But we're okay saying that maybe the killer took in blood vials with them and planted some blood at the scene of other people to throw the police off. That's not crazy conspiracy theory. Like, what kind of logic is that? Again, it's just one of those pure trust of law enforcement and pure trust of authority. Some people just trust authority. The authorities are the good guys. They don't do bad things. Okay, I believe authority are people too, and they're just as corrupt as everybody else. Not all the time. I shouldn't say all police are corrupt. They're not. But yeah. So, anyways, those are great observations and good questions. I believe that all the time, prosecution, law enforcement gets caught planting evidence and or only presenting the evidence that makes their person look guilty. That is our legal system. The prosecution's job is to try to ignore anything that casts doubt on their guy and tries to make the best case that the guy they arrested was the right guy. That's their job. Their job is to say, we have decided this is the right guy and here's the reasons why, and we're going to work our asses off to make sure you hear nothing other than the reasons why this is the right guy. And in contrast, the defense is to say, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that you don't hear anything that makes my guy look guilty, even if he is, because my job is to get that person off. That's the way the legal system is. And the idea is that the jury, or a judge, if you're not in a jury trial, is the one who decides where the truth is. So one side's going to manipulate the facts to show guilt, and the other side's going to manipulate the facts to show innocence, and the jury is the one who has to listen to the two extreme sides and go, okay, where's the truth in this matter? Which one of the liars do I believe the most or least? And where do I want to say I think the truth is somewhere in the middle? They seem to think that law enforcement and police, the good guys, never have do anything wrong. Yeah, a lot of people feel that way. Not me. I distrust law enforcement and authority. I'm major. That's what I do. Is I'm critical of law enforcement, mainstream media, and officials. I believe that they lie all the time to get what they want. And again, it's the legal system that we have. They will manipulate and lie to convict somebody, even if it's the wrong person, because that's their job. Their job is not to find out what really happened. Their job is to arrest somebody and then make sure they go down for it. That's their job. It sounds horrible, but that's our legal system. It's the jury's job to decide whether they got the right guy or not. I also hope this is the slam dunk case that the prosecution hasn't shut up on Luigi case. I also hope this is the slam dunk case that the prosecution hasn't shut up on Luigi case. Not sure if I understood that exact phrase, so I'm going to be careful not to say the wrong thing. So great thoughts, great questions. The legal system is adversarial, and you just have to be persuasive to the judge. Yeah, that's a great way of summarizing what I just said. It's the adversary of the prosecution versus the defense. They both argue their case. That's what the argument is, and the jury's job is to decide what the truth is on the matter. So in a way, it's a good system. In a way, it's a flawed system. But in a way, we err in the United States with the presumption of innocence, right? Innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. And it's supposed to be harder for the prosecution to prove their case than the defense, because you're to presume the defendant is innocent until they've been proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So we already are weighing the scales in favor of the defendant on purpose. And we've accepted in this country, some would argue, we've accepted in this country that we would rather a few guilty people walk than for one innocent person who didn't do it to go to jail for something that they didn't do. And so we're willing to tolerate in our legal system, a lot of people believe, to allow guilty people to walk as long as we don't accidentally convict somebody who's innocent. The problem is, we know for a fact our system wrongfully convicts people constantly. But, so it's not working the way we wanted it to. SNL has mentioned Diddy and Luigi in this case. Nice. I was so intrigued. I thought I was onto something. By the way, I'm going to mention something wild. And I want to say that I think I'm totally wrong. The Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl special, during the Super Bowl, he let out by saying something that caught my attention. And I thought what he said was something to the effect of, you got it all on camera, but you got the wrong guy. Like, and I was like, did he just make a reference to like the Luigi? Like, you know, he said something like this: the revolution's about to begin. You've got it all on camera, but you got the wrong guy. And I was like, right time, wrong guy. That's what and at first I was like, what the hell? And I didn't pay much attention the rest of the way, but I'm like, I told my wife, I'm like, is this like some kind of weird veiled Luigi thing? And then there was one other weird moment. And again, people who know this are going to be like, you're an idiot, dude. You don't know anything. And that's why I gave up on it. When Samuel Jackson, dressed as Uncle Sam, said something to the effect during a monologue break, scorekeeper, what did he say? Mark that as one dead or something like that. I can't remember his exact words. Do you remember that exact phrase? It was fucking super weird. Scorekeeper, mark that as one death or something like that. And I was like, what the hell was that comment? And again, now when I was looking into it, I didn't hear any other lyrics that made me think that it was about that. My wife heard something about Diddy and about Cell Block 1, and she was like, are they talking about Diddy and Luigi being in the same cell block? And I'm like, no, because it sounds like it's a beef with Drake and all this other stuff. So, and I don't know Kendrick Lamar's music enough to know exactly what it was about. I just kind of gave up on it. I was like, I'm not going to go open my mouth. Here I did. But I'm not going to go open my mouth and look like a complete idiot because I don't know the story between rappers and their beef and their law cases I haven't followed. So I'm just going to stay the hell out of it. But I was super weirded out by Samuel Jackson's scorekeeper, mark that one dead or something like that. And the whole like right time, wrong guy. I don't know. It was just weird. But I think it was not. I don't believe it was in relation to Luigi in retrospect. My mind is just apparently has been so wrapped up in this Luigi thing that I'm hearing shit, is what I think. Unless someone tells me that I missed something and it was about that, but I don't think it was. It was a direct reference to this current activism in America, so it could have directly meant Luigi. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. My wife also read something that they said Fox had basically muted the entire halftime show, which isn't true because I listened to it. So I don't know if they muted it in a certain area. The source that mentioned it didn't seem like a legitimate news source, so I think that was just a BS thing. But there's a clip of a guy saying the NYPD was basically tracking a near-perfect suspect for 3 days. I heard that as well. In fact, I think I heard that on an official documentary that they had, and the wording I remembered was they were following a dead ringer for the suspect and ended up having to let him go because he had an airtight alibi and couldn't have been in New York at the time. So I heard that as well. That the I don't know if it was NYPD or if it was the feds, but law enforcement was tracking a dead ringer for the suspect for a number of days, and it turned out that they had an airtight alibi and couldn't have been the person, and they let that person go. This is one of the reasons why I believe there are multiple suspects and why I have videos that are called the Luigi Shuffle. I believe that there's a possibility that there was a series of dead ringers that had similar clothing, similar backpacks, similar things going on, and did basically the scene from the Thomas Crown Affair movie from way back, where a bunch of people come in all dressed exactly the same with bowler hats and walked around confusing the hell out of law enforcement so they didn't know which person to follow. And I think that's very possible. As I know that sounds way crazy, but a movie was made about it, right? So it's not that crazy. And if somebody watches movies, they get an idea and they're like, hey, we could pull that off. So who knows? And I bet you that it was probably the actual who was the dead ringer. Yeah, could have been the actual, but they said he had an airtight alibi, right? So I don't know. They showed a subway person, then stopped talking about them. Yes, like I said, I think there are several dead ringers. I think, in their definition to dead ringer, it was anybody who was lanky and wore dark clothes and had a backpack on and a face mask, and that was a dead ringer. And then they realized there was a whole bunch of people dressed like that, and then they had a problem. So. And the Starbucks dude, yeah, I don't know if they stopped using that or not. There's a lot of controversy over the Starbucks and which Starbucks it was and all those good things. I know that. So yeah, all of those are super interesting things. And I'm following all of those things. I haven't done any new videos with any new theories because I'm mostly waiting to see what the next step in this case is. I've been really hesitant to dig into some of the things and some of the arguments that other people are digging into, because I don't feel I want to put my weight behind something that I don't feel comfortable about. The things that I have weighed in on are things that I feel comfortable saying that's a real possibility in my opinion. So let's leave it at that, I guess. Otherwise, I'm just kind of like, maybe not. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm watching. But until I see more pieces of it, I'm not going to put my ring in the hat on some other ideas yet. Who do we have?
Hello?
Hey, how are you?
Oh, hey. Did I request to get on?
You did, I think. I had a light up. I had a light up saying somebody was a guest, and you were the one that was on the top of the list for invite. So I don't know. Did I? If you don't want to be on, I can
It's
dump you back out.
it's okay. I didn't know that I had, or I didn't know. I had just sent you a comment saying, "Don't worry, I'm not going to make a video about the theory I sent you last week."
Oh. Fair enough. No, I'm not worried. Like, you can say whatever you want. Like,
No, that one is out there. I'm going to hold on that one.
yeah. Fair enough. I get it. Like, I've got a lot of crazy ideas that I don't want to put on camera myself. But I'm not saying your idea is crazy, by the way. I'm just saying I have a lot of crazy
It's out
ideas.
there. It's out
Yeah.
there. But I do have one that I'm working on right now. I just started throwing stuff together tonight. Because of limited time, it's not going to be, a super great one, but I'm definitely going to put it up because I noticed something, and maybe everybody else has already talked about this and knows this, but I hadn't. Um, I noticed that the Pew Pewer walked by the luxury collection hotel after parking his bike on the alleyway.
Uh-huh.
Did
And
everyone? Huh?
what does this tell you? What does this tell you? What is your observation on that?
Because so he left the bike for his getaway. He's got limited time. He's coming from Starbucks. By
Yeah.
limited time, we're talking minutes.
Yeah.
Minutes. Okay? And so the straight shot would be right through the alleyway
Right.
to go in front of his little perch and wait. He doesn't do that. He leaves the bike, and instead of going straight through the alleyway, he walks all the way down that street, around the corner, back up 54th, so he can pass in front of the Marriott Luxury Collection Hotel that Brian is about to emerge from minutes. He passes in front of the lobby doors minutes before Brian does. And the phone call that we see, I found the camera on 54th, the parking lot. The phone call where he's got the phone up to his ear is the parking lot directly next to the Marriott where Brian is about to leave from. So he was attempting to follow him from there.
Yeah, it's tough because it's tough for me to. I mean, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I think it's great for the audience, and especially for people who know that timeline. What I remember from the indictment was they're trying to say that he was there for an hour or two and had stopped and sat in a park bench and stuff like that, killing time kind of thing, so to speak. Whereas other people say he was there literally minutes before the event and knew exactly when to show up. So I already feel like it's difficult for me to weigh in on was he there. And then you've got somebody who says he's there all night long, the one infamous guy who said he was on the street corner all night long. So now I don't know. I know that the official indictment claims that he was there for an hour or so. Other people have timed it to be he's been there for 15 minutes. Other people say he's been there all night long. I'm not sure where to weigh in other than what the officials say is it seems to be an hour gap maybe, and killed time and sat on a park bench. I don't know, or a street bench, not necessarily a park bench, a street bench of some kind. I don't know.
Right. Well, if he was there all night long, then the other evidence of him in other areas like Starbucks and other spots wouldn't make sense. I thought they just said he was in and around the hotel for an hour, which
Right.
would be correct because he does leave and do the Starbucks. But my point is the phone call, in my opinion, is because somebody alerted him that Brian was held up. There is a lingering that happens
Yes.
when he leaves his bike. So he's leaving his escape equipment and walking further away unnecessarily and going the long way. And my opinion is because that phone call is because Brian got held up and somebody knows it inside the hotel because he walks past the Marriott doors, past the camera, and then stands on that little perch.
Yeah.
And by the time he gets onto that little, like, goes and stands across from the Hilton, Brian literally then walks out the lobby. We're talking a 3 minute, 3 minutes.
Right, and I can tell you two things. I wanted to comment real quick before the comment goes completely away. I did see the video with the garbage truck, yes. But yeah, I agree. This is why I said at the top of the hour or earlier that I believe that the person on the cell phone is an accomplice. Somebody is either tipping him off that Brian's been delayed, as you say, or they're tipping him off that Brian's on his way out, or something like that. That phone call is not just again. It's almost impossible for me to conceive that a person's about to commit murder and you're going to take a phone call or place a phone call.
Totally, yeah.
They've got more things on their mind. That phone call must be related, in my opinion. But that's just logic. I can't prove that. But logically speaking, if you're about to do something like that, you're not taking a random phone call and you're not placing a random phone call. So if the phone call's happening, it's because somebody's involved in that situation, which means it's not just a lone gunman. Somebody else is involved. Whether law enforcement knows that and is hiding that part right now, and they know damn well there's somebody else and they're just not leaking it to the public. Maybe they know somebody got away and there's an accomplice and they're hoping that they'll think the accomplice got away, and maybe they're still hot on their heels. There's a lot of things we don't know. But I think the indication pretty clearly is there's an accomplice in this situation.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And,
I can't prove it,
right.
And here's the thing: with my jaded view of the law enforcement, if they can't find that accomplice, they will definitely spin the lone gunman narrative, and they will ignore anything. They will make sure that nothing gets into court, or they will attempt to make sure nothing gets into court that indicates there's an accomplice, because they must stick to the lone gunman theory. And our legal system is designed with. They will make sure to only put together the things that make it look like the lone gunman theory. And so it'll be then the defense to be able to say whether they know there's an accomplice, and then shed some doubt into the story, the official narrative that it's a lone gunman, by presenting evidence that there was accomplices involved.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, have they ever stated that he's the one that left the bike there himself at the end of that alley?
They say it. The official complaint is that he rode the bike there. he left the bike there, and then he picked up the bike that he staged for himself. So that's the official story that they're sticking with in the complaint.
Because what? Huh.
Right. And so many people have speculated, again, it's pure speculation. How did he know that the bike was still going to be there when he needed it? So he's going to park a bike in New York and then just hope that nobody takes the bike from him. And then one argues, okay, well, there's a video that shows him, or a still frame from a video shot of him carrying what appears to be a battery for an electric bike. So did he carry the battery with him to make sure that nobody could take off with the bike? Because does it not operate if it doesn't have the battery? If it doesn't operate without the battery and he's carrying the battery with him. However, the problem with that is during the shooting, where's that battery? Unless he stuffed it in his backpack. But then you have the whole problem with the backpack full of Monopoly money left at the park, and where's the, I don't know.
That backpack in particular is made for photographers, and it has all these compartments that it opens on the sides, so you don't have to take it off to access anything. There's zips and these little compartments, so I can see him just sliding that out. And then that would make sense why the cell phone was dropped.
If you saw how big the battery is, the battery, though, was a good 2-foot battery. I mean, it's a big battery. And yes, it could fit all the way into a backpack. I'm a photographer myself, so I know those bags pretty well. So it would be a trick, though. I mean, that would be like a telephoto lens size battery that I saw. So it would be a trick to stick that in. But it could be done. And by the way, somebody made a question. I just want to comment briefly on it before it goes away. That they can't believe that law enforcement hasn't been looking into the multiple accomplices theory. You have to understand, they may be. Again, law enforcement, there's a documentary that came out, I'll try to be brief, where the law enforcement admits that they lie, they mislead the public through the media, and sometimes that's done on purpose to make people, and they didn't say all of this, I'm adding things to it, but they will purposely mislead the public so that if the bad guy is out there still, they want the bad guy to think they've gotten away. So just because they haven't said that there's multiple accomplices does not mean that the FBI or NYPD isn't looking for multiple accomplices or knows about a multiple accomplices just because they haven't said so. They may be doing that on purpose to let the people who are involved think they got away cleanly while they're still tracking them down. That's a possibility.
Right.
Was it ever proven that Luigi was traveling to Asia the summer of 2024? Yes. Or were those just lies? No, that was proven. Proven in the sense that they've got multiple people. They got pictures of him in Hawaii. They've got people who are vacationing with him in Hawaii. They've got a lot of posts from Luigi, allegedly, from when he was in his travels. A person who met with him in Thailand, was at Bangkok, met with him, an author. There's lots of stuff proving that he was on that trip. So that seems to be legitimate. What if he knew about this stuff due to the UHC cybersecurity breach? Right. We don't talk a lot about that enough. We don't talk enough about the cybersecurity breach. But yes, and I don't know if you heard. I don't know if you heard my theory. It wasn't my theory. Just curious. In fact, was the one that woke me up to this theory about the protests that happened in April and July. From a protest group that was basically getting hot over the whole denial of claims thing. Now, it wasn't the cyber hack specifically, but yes, the cyber hack is one thing that is huge. We don't talk about enough. We don't talk about the protests that were happening in relation to the 24% increase in denials of claim that United Healthcare was doing, and the outrage, and people were marching around with the casket in front of Brian Koberger months before this happened. So the whole thing has got a lot of potential, motives. There's a lot of people with motive. There's motive for shareholders to shut him up before the Department of Justice thing. There's motive for angry people about denials of claim, people who've lost people because of denials of claim. There's a million people with motives on this situation. Nancy Pelosi is a little harder for me because I've looked into the timing of her what would they call it? She placed certain types of hedge bets, basically that stock would go up or down, and it looks sketchy. I grant you, but one of those didn't make her any money, and I don't know what to make of that. And I don't know that I'd feel comfortable with the Nancy Pelosi thing entirely, because when I looked into it, she didn't seem to make an obscene amount of money, and I'm not sure. So I've kind of left Nancy Pelosi alone with that, because it becomes political. then it becomes the whole Republicans and those damn Democrats and the whole thing, and them not making this a political thing. So whenever people bring up Nancy Pelosi, and it's perfectly fine to do that because I believe in following the money, I get a little bit worried that people are blaming Nancy Pelosi not because it's Nancy Pelosi, but because it's a Democrat and it's a this and that, and then it becomes political, and I'm not going to make this a political issue. But
Yeah, I agree. I don't get the Nancy Pelosi stretch at all.
yeah, it mostly had to do with her buying options or stock purchases in Palo Alto, who was hired to clean up the security breach. And so she was basically putting in an option to buy stock at a lower price if the stock went way up, right? So the allegation is
Right.
something to the effect of she knew with insider trading that Palo Alto was going to be hired to clean up the mess. They were going to get a big contract that was going to make their stock price go up. And she had, basically put in the option to buy at the lower price if the stock suddenly skyrockets, so she can continue to buy at the lower price it was when she first placed that. And I forgot what that was, what that particular type of purchase is, but it's basically a hedging your bet. Hey, look,
Right.
my business partner, if you will, my TikTok partner is on the live tonight. I should invite him up. I don't know if he will accept it, but I'm certainly going to give it a shot. Although his account that he's with always gets told to me that I need to verify that I really want him on the show because his account apparently is not in great standing. So, which is weird. I wonder if that black guy saw the black SUV in the video was actually calling the suspect and told him what to do. I don't know. Like the black SUV thing was curious to me because at first I thought someone said that the headlights turned on to light up Brian Thompson. That's not what happened. The tail lights came on when Brian Thompson was there. It is odd to me, for those who don't know, I could cover it a little bit better, but it is odd to me that the shooter would cross right in front of that SUV and essentially look like they look right into the window of the SUV. So if you're trying to get out of there undetected, why would you cross right in front of a car like that? I don't know, but maybe you didn't have any choice. I mean, there was cars parked all along there, so you got to cut in front of somebody's car. But that car clearly had somebody in it, and the lights were on. So I don't know that if I was trying to stay undetected, that I would go right in front of a car that I know is on and the occupants are in the vehicle. But I don't know.
I thought that was the witness that had said that the suspect was across the street the whole night.
It might be.
He was a professional driver.
You think that was the same guy in the SUV?
I believe so, because in one of the interviews he mentions he was in a black SUV.
Yeah, I saw an interview. I think he was interviewed in a car, and it might have been a black SUV that he was in. So maybe it was the same car.
Yeah, because I mean that
car said he was there all night long. Said the shooter
that car didn't just like drive away because they would have caught that car.
Yeah.
So
media saying that his mom was what? Media saying that his mom said that she. I'm not sure what that is. I have to kind of tilt my head up to see these. Hold on, what happened here? Media saying that his mom said that she can see him do things, or do this, saying that she could see him doing this. I remember a statement being said that his mother supposedly, and again, I don't know what to believe anymore because I heard a statement that his mother, when shown the photo of him looking in the taxi window on the camera, said, "I can't say for certainty that that's my son." And if your own mother can't identify you, I don't. Like almost everybody in America believes that's Luigi Mangione looking into the taxi thing. But I heard that his mother said that she couldn't say for sure that was her son. I don't know if that's even said because I don't know what the source is on that. I heard that. I don't know if that's a sourced thing or not. Oh yeah, so someone said that his mother said that she could see him going to hostels. Yeah, I again, I don't know what the source is, but I would imagine that would be something that his mother would probably say. He probably was the kind of person that goes to hostels based on things that we've seen about him. Here's what's going to be interesting about the special. Tomorrow night, there's an Investigation Discovery Channel special on Luigi for 1 hour. And one of the things that they're going to be diving into is trying to analyze his personality based on Reddit posts and Twitter posts and manifesto and things like this. So they're going to be going through his writings per se, supposedly, and it looks like from the teaser, from the trailer, they're going to be trying to piece together his psychology and things that he wrote down publicly. The problem that I have is I don't know for certain that they have proven that those are his accounts. So that's the tricky part. Like, if are we saying that if they say that was him for sure, that means they have vetted it and we know for sure that was his wording, so that when you see the special and they say, well, Luigi Mangione flat out said, I did this because they had it coming, or whatever. Do we know for sure? Does that mean they vetted it and it's 100% him? Or is there still argument about whether or not that account was his and whether those are his words? So that's the real tricky part. Like, when they show evidence of what Luigi has said in his own words, do we know for sure that's been vetted and proven to be his words? I don't know.
Are you going to watch it?
I am going to watch it, yeah. And I plan on doing a live 1 hour after the show is over. So it's going to air for me at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's going to be over at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I'm going to go live at 7, giving myself an hour to try to, in case I pause and kind of write notes down so I can be a little behind. And I'm going to go live with my initial thoughts tomorrow night. And then Wednesday, on my normal scheduled time, I'll do a deep dive on it.
Ooh.
So that's my intent.
I'll watch your deep dive. I'm going to boycott it.
Yeah, no, I get it. A lot of people want to boycott it. I mean, obviously, with what I do in my channel, I need to know what they're saying for me to have an opinion on it.
Oh, so, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's what I was relying on, watching it through other people. I mean, it's going to be watched by an insane amount of people. There's no boycott that's really going to stop it.
Right. And I totally get people boycotting it. And all I will say about that is, when you hear it from me, it's going to be a biased opinion, right? Because I've got biases towards the presumption of innocence in this country and proving things beyond a reasonable doubt. And I already have a problem with documentaries coming out that are swaying public opinion before the trial has started. So I already have biases. So while I love the idea of people coming and hearing what my take on it is, it's not going to be an unbiased take. And so along that lines, while I understand people wanted to boycott it, the best thing you probably could do for yourself is to keep an open mind, hear what they have to say out of their own mouths, and then hear what my take is on it, and then decide where you feel in the middle of those two things, because you're probably not going to hear an unbiased opinion from me, and you're certainly not going to hear an unbiased opinion from them. So,
right. Yeah. And actually, me boycotting, it's not going to stop it from being seen by people who are on the fence or believe he's guilty already, because that's who matters. Or, I just saw one clip today of some woman, I don't know if she's a journalist or in the field of criminology somehow, but she was dissecting the way he leaned forward in his chair and said not guilty. She said that he did it, he was pompous and arrogant. And I'm like, how else was he supposed to do it?
Well, yeah, and it's funny because, I mean, when you don't have anything else to talk about, you start nitpicking and analyzing every little thing. My partner, for example, who I don't know if he's still on the live here right now, he's pointed out I'm guilty of doing the same thing. As an example, I use adverbs to describe things. Like, I have said numerous times that I believe, in my opinion, that the suspect carefully placed the water bottle or whatever piece of evidence on top of a pile of trash in plain view of the camera. My use of the word carefully placed is prejudice, right? It's an adverb that I don't know if it was carefully placed or if it was just dropped or whatever. So I'm already showing a prejudice by saying he carefully placed a piece of evidence right in full view of a camera because I believe he wanted it to be found and he wanted them to find it quickly. So that's my opinion, but I'm prejudiced to say that. Now, again, one could argue it's just an asshole talking because he has nothing else to talk about. So now I'm nitpicking everything apart and going, well, let's talk about that water bottle. Looks like it's placed to me. Looks like it's planted to me. And maybe I'm just doing it because I have spare time in my hand. I don't know. But,
I mean, it does look like he's carefully putting it there. I've said 100%. That too. It's just like, who bends down?
Right.
I mean, just the fact that there was that much thought and process being happened over a wrapper, and you're allegedly about to do this huge monumental thing, right?
This is why I don't buy the narrative that they were mistakes. Law enforcement is trying to act like, in some regards, he planned all this out carefully and meticulously, but he made a lot of mistakes. I do not buy into he made a lot of mistakes. I think the mistakes were done on purpose. Then the question, why? What's the purpose of, for me, it's for misleading law enforcement, making them chase down paths that are going to end up being basically rabbit trails.
Yeah.
It's to mislead law enforcement and send them off, wasting their time instead of where they should be focused is on the actual person who may be out of the country.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, I don't get how you could be, he's precise and supposedly making
Right,
mistakes like at the same time
right.
together while he's pulling off because he pulled it off. He got away with them for 5 days.
Yeah. So let me.
Like,
I want to address something real quick. I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to address something. Somebody asked, did he wear gloves? The suspect did not wear gloves, and I think again, I personally, this is going to sound crazy. I totally get it that you're not gonna go with me on this. Most people, I think that was done on purpose. First of all, I've said before a million times, veneers over your fingertips have been a thing for a long time. They're super cheap. They're super easy to get. Magicians have things like that. It's super easy. You can make it look like you're barehanded on camera and not actually be leaving fingerprints on anything. The fact that
oh,
he barehanded held the gun and barehanded put a water bottle down. That water bottle could have had veneers on his fingers and left no fingerprints on a bottle that already had somebody else's fingerprints on it and left there so that you would see, well, I saw him put it with his bare hand, so we know it's his fingerprint. But it may not be. Veneers are super cheap and easy to get. It would be easy to pull that off. So I know people think that's crazy talk, but if you're talking about a professional hit, if that was a professional hit, these people have so much money. Buying veneers to make it and mislead law enforcement by planting evidence to make it look like you barehanded something. So when you get a fingerprint, there's no question, hey, look, we've got his fingerprint. You see his bare hands touch the gun. It's got to be his fingerprints. Maybe not. So I don't know.
oh, super cool. And if I can add something to that, that Luana, is it Luana? She said something on Character Analysis Live the other night that just spun me into thinking, and I can't even remember what you said, Luana. You had just asked about the water bottle and the kind bars at Starbucks. And for some reason, I immediately thought, and I had never thought of this before, that he needed to stop for the kind bars and the Starbucks at Starbucks and the water because he already had an empty water bottle and two kind bars in the bag with someone else's DNA that he was going to plant. And then I was like, how easy would it have been to grab two kind bars and a water bottle from the hostel roommates
Right.
if
Right.
they
So I'm
moved
telling
out?
you. Right.
If they moved out before the cleaning lady comes and he's just walking around the room and he goes, holy shit, I
Right.
can grab these and plant them around town. And like you said, if he's wearing veneers, he throws them into his backpack and then he goes, and even better, if I got a little time tomorrow, I can go into Starbucks of all places, corporate that will have cameras on me and purchase both of these things so that they will see that I've made this purchase. Then I can throw the purchase in a couple places. Then I can leave an uneaten kind bar in Central Park with the Monopoly money. Not only did he leave the kind bar there, it was outside of the backpack in that little side pocket, sticking out when they found
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like
Two
he
things real
wanted
quick.
them to see the kind bar. Why did you buy two, honey, at
Right.
6 o'clock if you knew that if you didn't want to take one of them with you?
Super cool, educated conjecture there. That's really, really good stuff, and I think it's plausible. Welcome to Just Curious, by the way. I didn't even remember hitting a button inviting you on. You just jumped on, which is perfectly fine. But
Well, it said as of 11 minutes ago, I was doing dishes and I looked and I was like, "Oh gosh, did I miss something?" So if you don't want me here, I can jump off.
That's
But
no,
how
I
that's how I got on. I was like, I'm
yeah.
so glad I wasn't saying anything or
you
like going to the restroom when he did. I just appeared on here.
right. You are 100% allowed to stay. So, but please stay if you're comfortable. But I got to figure out how I'm accidentally inviting people or inviting people. Like something's weird in my world, but that's okay. You guys are both welcome. If you weren't, I would probably be able to kick you back off.
Fantastic. Well, I agree with the kind bar and it being someone else's and then having to go be on camera buying it somewhere else. I just wonder why Starbucks versus like a bodega, but I don't disagree with that theory.
So,
Because he knows that that's where that kind of water and Kind Bar can be purchased. Because
right.
not, it has to be the exact kind of water bottle.
I really want to hit this because you really put something together for me. Like I've said before, I felt like the water bottle was a planted thing on purpose in front of a camera. But you just kind of
100%.
you made the full circle. What if the entire going to a store at like Starbucks and buying these items were so that they'd be like, oh, we trace him from the moment he bought it to the moment he put it down, but nothing's to say that they're the same one. Like, just like you said, he could have a fingerprint from somebody else and went, oh, I've got this water bottle. I've got this Kind Bar with somebody else's fingerprints on it. I'll just go make sure I'm seen buying these items, and I'll leave the planted evidence behind with somebody else's fingerprints on it. Really?
Yes. And then what it does is tie a couple of the confusion points together. And this was probably something he did not pre-plan prior to New York. It could have been something that just kind of grabbed him as the roommates moved out. He was there for 10 days. So he
Yeah.
probably switched out roommates, who knows? And they were left, or whatever that is, or he just took them out of the wastebasket
Well,
and went, "Oh my God, genius."
it is. It
I'm
is.
gonna
And it sounds like it's a bit of a stretch. I'll even say it sounds like a bit of a stretch when I say it, but it's not outside the realm of possibility, that's for sure. And second of all, I get my chops busted every time I'm saying this because people are like, you don't understand how hostels work. Those were completely random strangers. It is not impossible that he knew those people. It is not impossible that the people he was staying with in the hotel room were conspirators with him working. People assume that, yes, random strangers get hooked up in hostels, but you can also go as a group of people. So we can't prove that he didn't know the roommates. So everybody wants to bust my chops saying that I don't know how hostels work. What I'm saying is it's possible he knew they could have been accomplices.
Well, I don't know why they're doing that to you because even this specific one, I know people that have ran numerous half marathons and marathons in the area, and they've actually stayed in hostels and they like seek out ones where they can share a room together.
Right.
So that is possible. I don't know why people are doing that to you, but
I don't know.
yeah, it's possible.
I just get it. I get it from time. I've been called an idiot multiple times on that issue. You're an idiot. You don't know how hostels work. They're complete random strangers. And I'm like, and then I want to be mean, but I don't want to be mean and say, you're an idiot to think that you really believe that he kept his mask on the entire time in his room while eating with his roommates, but takes his mask off in front of the camera. That to me sounds idiotic. Because that's what the official story is. The roommates he was with said he never took his mask off even to eat food. But he's going to go stand in front of a camera and pull his mask off to flirt with somebody? That makes no sense.
Right. And
So
we
I'm
know
gonna
that he wasn't flirting. She probably saw the photo
Yeah.
where he looks really angry in the Mark Rosario photo and either said, like, you're attractive, let's see, or made the joke that women always get. Why don't you try smiling sometimes?
Or maybe it was just
You're
a
good
requirement
looking.
that they make a positive ID on his face and he has to lower it long enough to show a positive ID on the face. I mean, it could have been anything.
Right.
So you said stretch earlier. I'm gonna give you another stretch. Did you either one of you happen to see the kind of random connections between Altoona and Baltimore and Emory and Mount Sinai and all the different spine clinics?
I've seen your take on those several times. Not all your videos, but I've seen your take on it a few times, so I'm aware what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah, there's a gal who reached out and said, "Hey, I have a family member who used to live there, and so I wanted to check it out a little bit." And she said, "Did you know that there's this spine clinic there?" And of course, I judged. I was like, "Oh, I don't know, spine clinic in Altoona. How good is it?" And then I looked into it, and these are really, really good doctors, and they have satellite offices, and one of them is just 20 minutes outside of Baltimore. And the doctors that go up to Altoona did their schooling, their residency, their fellowships there in New York at Mount Sinai. And I just thought, wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's not, uncommon
is.
for people to
Yeah.
go to large cities or go from one large city to another large city for different care. And I don't know. Again, you said the word stretch, so I thought I'd throw that out there.
No, it's a great line of inquiry, and I haven't jumped on it because it's been kind of your thing, and I don't want to jump on that. And
I don't own it. You can do what you need to do. I don't own it.
but I've been digesting it. I've been quietly digesting it and going, Like, I don't know, because again, the official story is Luigi's picked up with a manifesto praising the feds for their work and telling them over and over again, hey, I acted alone. It was all me and whatever. And so that would not be consistent with I'm there for a spinal checkup or whatever. So again, either all of that's a lie and he didn't have a manifesto and he didn't basically confess to it, or whatever. But I don't know, because the story they're telling us is he's basically admitted to it. And again, this is why I'm waiting to hear what his defense says. Does his defense also say, yeah, he did it, but he's got a mental issue, or yeah, he did it, but whatever? Because are they going to contest that he's already admitted to it, or is the defense going to say, you planted evidence, this never was the guy, that's not his manifesto, that's horseshit, and we're gonna say that you planted the evidence? I want to know what they're going to say.
This is why I want it to be televised so badly.
Right.
I think we all want to tune in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really intriguing case. And again, my hope is that we can continue to have the bigger dialogue that about the healthcare system and all that stuff as well. But the case itself is what's really grabbing all of our attention. We're all waiting for these court dates to see what I'm just chomping at the bit to find out what the defense is really going to use as their defense.
Yeah.
But
it's just weird. It's all just weird.
Yeah.
I think, we've all been around the earth a couple times, and I don't think that, we've seen anything like this or even close to this.
Yeah.
So of course we're all curious, right? And then they did reach out and say, hey, internet, come help us. So of course, every single one of us are like, what about this? What about that? Well, what about that? So
yeah, it's tough. And I have to, I don't want to sidetrack this from Luigi, but I'm also covering Koberger's story. And I get shamed all the time about, you assholes and your conspiracy theories. Why don't you leave the families alone? These poor people, you're disgusting. It's pieces of shit like you running your mouth about your crazy conspiracy theories. And I'm like, do we not believe in the American system of innocent until proven guilty? Because you're already saying that if this guy is innocent, you don't care. Freaking hang him. He did it. So what about his family? Are they going to watch their son go to prison as a killer and be branded the worst person in America, and he didn't do it? Are you okay with that? Where do we draw the line of being, aren't you going to be respectful about, I don't know. I'm off on a tangent, but I'm getting attacked a lot for that.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. You don't deserve it. Nobody deserves that.
It's just tough when you're doing true crime. You're going to have somebody pissed off at you at all times.
But see, I think everyone should be able to just say their piece. None of us know, right? None of us are the attorneys. None of us are detectives. I don't think we are. But I think everyone should just be able to sit there and, share. And if we don't agree, then, we don't agree. But
yeah,
like you said, I've talked to you before, and yeah, you've got some heat, and it's not cool.
Yeah. This person's comment, by the way, I don't know if they were addressing me, but my partner is the one who specifically said, even if he did it, he didn't do it. That was my partner's exact words, not my words. But yeah, I don't know if you were addressing that or not, but my partner came on here one time on the show and basically said he views it differently than me. He believes Luigi did do it, but even if he did do it, he didn't do it. It's one of those things. He says, I hope he gets off even if he did do it. Because my partner in this channel that we run together, he's not a big conspiracy person thing. So he's not really comfortable with me running with the whole multiple conspirator thing. He's like, it probably was Luigi, but I don't care. He's more
right. And that's the way character analysis views it as well. And when people kind of get on her and get on me when I go on her lives, because she believes he did do it, but also believes, but I want him out. And that's the beauty of a jury, and that's what will lead to jury nullification. It's 12 people are going to sit down and talk about it. There'll be people there that think he did it. There'll be people there that are on the fence, and then you sit there and you debate, you talk, you go over it, and all they have to all say is, I kind of don't care. I want him out. He's got a promising life ahead of him. He's brilliant. And I do want to, by the way, address Spectator, because Spectator's kind of calling me out. I did say something extremely similar to that on my last live. So yes, if you were on my last live, somebody pressured me over and over again to tell me, they asked me over and over again,
do you want Luigi to get away with it or not? And over and over, it was that, or do you believe he's guilty? Over and over again. And I dodged it and I dodged it, and then I finally said, at the end of the day, even if he did it, there's a part of me that wants him to get away with it because of the bigger issue. So I did say something like that. So if you're calling me out on that, I did say something similar to that. Yes.
Well, there's all of it. There's that. There's going to be the people that are he did it and I don't care. They're the ones that are going to say I want him to do it.
Yeah.
There's going to be the ones that say I don't think he did it. There's going to be he's involved but he didn't do it. There's going to be I think everything. I truly believe there's going to be everything.
So
And
Luna,
that's the beauty of having a debate when nobody knows
right.
anything yet, and everybody should keep an open mind. And unfortunately, and I mean, Mermaid, yes, you were someone who left nasty comments to me the other night after my live with character analysis, trying to put me in place. Good thing I blocked you, and now I have to read a comment. There's nothing contradictory with what I said. There's nothing contradictory about what I said on that live. And you saying I'm not a supporter because I'm not 1,000% convinced of his innocence is ridiculous. It's not reality. He's
There's,
facing a death sentence. So
there's
you can
there's
play
multiple.
around here and do your thirst traps and call him Lulu and all of that garbage. I live in reality, and hopefully the jury lives in reality, and they can have intellectual conversations that will lead to wanting him to get out of jail without just blindly claiming he's innocent.
Yeah, I want to clarify two things. I'm going to answer briefly in a minute the garbage truck thing again. But yeah, to first address this issue, there are multiple feelings about support for Luigi, and you can still be a supporter and think he did it, but thinks that he should get away with it if he did. That is still a supporter. And then there's the people who will be like, he didn't do it, he's innocent, and he should walk because he's innocent and he's been framed. But I would consider both of those camps still supporting Luigi. Whether you think he's completely innocent and was framed, or whether you think he did but he should walk, that's still kind of supporting Luigi. And again, it's a shame that we get into fights with each other about
It's
where we
crazy.
stand on the issue.
It's crazy and it's divisive, and it
Yeah,
makes the public discourse and the optics about his supporters look even worse when all they show on mainstream media is the stupid thirst traps hypersexualizing him instead of the intellectual conversations with people who have master's degrees, PhDs, discussing the case and
yeah,
still on the fence because we know 5% of
right.
what really happened and what the evidence is.
But I do think the media is always going to go for whatever is going to get them the most attention. So even if, I think they're posting all of the memes because that's what gets the conversation, right? Like, I
Well,
don't
no,
think,
that's
like,
what makes his supporters look stupid, is what it does also. It makes his supporters not look like actual human beings who are educated and talk about it.
well, and I think that's what the media wants to do, right? They probably want
Right.
that narrative.
But that's my point. We're doing the narrative to each other.
Yeah,
When people, come in and make comments, send you DMs, make comments on posts, getting mad at each other for not claiming he's innocent when there is, as far as we can tell, unless everything was faked, there is a lot of evidence stacking up so far. Can
so
he still be innocent? Absolutely.
I want to address a comment in the. I've seen a lot of comments go by, and I'm missing it because we're having a discussion. But I do want to weigh in on the question that was asked to me: do I think Brian Thompson is really dead, or did they fake that? I personally believe he's really dead. I believe
Yeah.
that it makes sense that the family had a private viewing because it was going to be a shit show in the public at that funeral. So the details of the funeral were kept out of the public for completely good reasons. It would have been a shit show if people knew where that funeral was taking place. So I do believe that he's dead. I don't personally believe that it's all a fake thing, that he's walking alive somewhere and that there's photos and videos of Brian Thompson walking around. I personally don't buy into that. That's my take. So if you have evidence otherwise, I'd take a look at it. But if you're asking me the question, do I think he's still walking around? No, I don't think he's alive.
But that's where the media comes back in because one of the arguments of him being alive, not saying that I think he is that there wasn't blood everywhere. That is a very movie TV thing.
Yeah.
So, do people bleed when they get shot? Yes, but it's not always. as the media shows it to be. It can be, depending on where, the
Yeah.
injury is. But I think
Right.
a lot of people are using the lack of evidence, if you will, without me saying anything,
Yeah.
um, yeah, as an argument of why he's still alive. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think the gentleman is no longer with us.
And I guess for me to even entertain that thought, I would have to have an ulterior motive. What would be the motive of faking his death? And I haven't been able to think of that one myself either. But
Well, you would easily, yeah. I mean, I don't say easily, but there's going to be all sorts of insurance payouts, to the estranged wife, and there's going to be all sorts of things. But
yeah,
that can happen when you fake a death too. Again, not saying I
yeah,
believe that.
yeah. But he's pretty high profile. It'd be hard for him to lay low for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
If he's planning on getting an insurance policy for his wife or something like that. But yeah, I get it. I mean, I guess there are things like that. But at the end of the day, my gut is he's not alive.
And I don't think, knowing what he made, they probably don't need the insurance policy. So,
No,
yeah.
no, no. Well, what else? Do we want to talk about anything else? I mean, I came on here thinking I was doing an impromptu for maybe 20 minutes. We're a good hour and 40 minutes into this, and
Well, then you just started inviting people left and
I
right.
didn't. I didn't invite anybody else. You guys just jumped on my show. I'm just kidding.
Uh-huh.
We might
There's
have.
another.
Sorry if I did. I
No,
swear I don't think I did.
I have no idea what's going on. I can barely freaking work my phone apparently. So who knows? It was probably me. I did
Did
see.
you did
Huh?
you possibly try to reply to one of our comments? I wonder if we
Yes.
commented. It
Well,
might have went.
yeah.
Yeah, you might have tapped us, and it might have just added us or invited us if you were trying to reply to
Oh,
a comment.
garbage truck question. Yeah. I'm gonna. I swear, for the third or fourth time, I said I'm gonna get back to the garbage truck. I will. But lots of comments are coming across with me blocked with the little eyeball slash through saying they're not being shown to people, and I'm trying to click on those and unblock them after I read them. So it's possible that when I'm trying to click on that, it scrolls up and I hit the next line down below and invite somebody. So that's very possible. But anyways, either so, you guys are welcome on my show. So I don't regret having you on here. It's been great having you on here. Let's talk about the garbage truck thing and my opinion about the garbage truck thing. That video footage is super grainy and super hard to tell what's going on. It does when you're preloaded to say what you're going to see as a person with a mask on in the window, it does look that way. But you're preloaded to be told that's what you're going to see. And so when you see it, your mind sees what you're told what you're going to see. So I'm not sure 100% from myself that I'm going to go make a TikTok video about it, that was a person with a mask on inside the garbage truck. I will say that I had a theory early on about the disappearance of the e-bike that supposedly just went missing, and one time they see him on the e-bike and the next time they see him not on the e-bike, and then nobody can seem to tell you where the e-bike went. That if he was working with conspirators and if garbage was being picked up on, is it possible that he could have had somebody that allowed him to dump the e-bike into the back of the garbage truck and have it quickly scooped up into the trash and hauled away? It was just a question that I asked at one point because it was interesting, this idea that you see the bike and the suspect ride past a garbage truck. You see somebody inside the garbage truck that might look just like him. And I'm like, well, so if there's a group of conspirators, were any of the conspirators in the sanitation department? Did they agree to dump the bike real quick and put it in the back of a garbage truck and drive away with it? It was a question that I asked, and I don't know. But I don't feel like the video is solid enough for me to say for sure a masked person is inside that cab or not. What do you guys think? Did you guys know what we're talking about? I'm sure you do, right?
Yeah, they think that as the truck was driving, it looks like someone stands up in the window.
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Inside the cab of the truck. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about the area and the time of day and the lighting and when you drive, because I know that, there is a reflection. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to have a solid opinion.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. It's like I've seen the video. I'm interested in the video, but it hasn't made me feel comfortable enough to make a big theory about that.
Yeah, I agree.
But I do think that he
And what makes the most sense, without even complicating it, is he would just leave the bike unattended with everything still on it for someone to steal.
Yeah, so
And
the person who's asking for the video, I may have the video linked on my website. I have a Luigi Mangione timeline on devilsadvocates.info. It may be there, but I believe it was news footage from like CBS or ABC,
Today's Show.
Today's Show, and they showed the garbage truck and they showed the bike and they highlighted with the circle the bike riding past the suspect riding past a garbage truck. And somebody froze that and went through frame by frame and said, pay attention to the truck inside. It looks like someone wearing the exact kind of same surgical mask is inside of the truck as well as the one that drove by. So it's that video that we're talking about.
I will say though, that is the first part in the whole timeline of things where the mask begins to be introduced to us, because that mask is not seen anywhere else in the hostel, in the
Because
midtown.
it appears to be a black gator that is over the face during the shooting and several other instances. And then in other places, it's a surgical mask. Once again, why I believe it's lookalikes, maybe potential accomplices that are just coming close to their look. Wear a dark jacket and a backpack and something covering your face. And it may not always be the same mask. It may not. So I don't know. Is it possible that he had a gator at one point and then switched to a surgical mask later on? Sure. But
Well, and then that surgical mask walking around in that area, that's strange for me, because if you look at the criminal complaint, it says in the vicinity of 179. Okay, that's fine, in the vicinity of, but it says it drops him off at the bus station in the
yeah,
vicinity. So they are saying bus station. So then they say, oh, we have footage of him walking into it, but not out. So if you have him walking in but not out,
yeah,
how do you explain J Automatic and Hilltop Pharmacy?
yeah.
Is that before he went in? So they dropped him off, then he did that walk, and then you have video later of him walking in? Or do you not really have video of him walking in and he's these other places for other reasons?
And who
I don't know.
knows? That might have been the. We talked about this at the beginning of the show. I don't know if you were here, but that might have been the part of the whole NYPD or the feds had a dead ringer that they were following for days and had to rule out. Maybe that was the dead ringer they had. I don't know.
But here's
Time will
my
tell.
question about the dead ringer. Where did they get the dead ringer from? Where did they get the dead ringer from? At that point, all the public had for those beginning days, the best thing we had of him was the Jake Gyllenhaal photo at the hostel.
Right? Doesn't that look
So
like? Oh my
where
God.
where are you getting dead ringer unless his
Just clothing.
his
It's
ID was copied at the hostel and they used facial recognition on the Mac Rosario ID because that does not look like him in the picture. I know it is, and Lulu tends to look like different constantly, but he really does not look like himself. Does he look more like the person they chased for those first 3 days?
I cannot get over the fact that you said Jake Gyllenhaal, because when I saw that first photo, I joked to my wife. I said, "Oh my God, an actor pulled this off. It's Jake Gyllenhaal." And I was like, "Am I nuts? That dude looks exactly like." And then, like, if I was a defense, I'd be like, "Hey, maybe Jake Gyllenhaal did it."
And then we find out he's 50,000 times better looking than Jake Gyllenhaal could ever dream to be. But
I
my
know my
whole
wife
thing
thinks he's
is
pretty good looking too.
they
So
never gave the public the Mac Rosario name, even though they had it from the
yeah,
jump. So
yeah.
why are you, even though of course they ran it and it was fake in the address, it doesn't matter. How did you not put out the name Mac Rosario to the media for people? They kept that hidden the whole time. So
Again,
I
because
think if they had that and they had the face and they ran that face and it led them to someone who doesn't even live there because they didn't even have the eyebrows yet. The eyebrows we didn't get until the 8th.
well, this goes back to what I was saying before. It is very possible, in my mind, it's still very possible. The feds and or NYPD suspect that there's more than one person involved, and so they may have purposely kept things out of the media because they know there's more than one person involved. So
Right.
that's a possibility.
Right. But yeah, how did you get to the first person though? That's just so
Yeah,
bizarre to me that you were just so convinced of.
yeah.
So let me ask this, because I don't remember with the Idaho 4 when they had Brian's they were suspecting him. Did they give his name then? Did they
No,
say they were looking for
no,
him?
that
So maybe
October,
that's why they didn't give the mark.
yeah,
They
No,
didn't
beginning of
give
no, no, no,
October,
Brian.
these
no.
things
I'm
got
not
around.
saying they had Luigi's name also before
Right.
getting him in Altoona. The FBI was talking to Mommy Dearest. Oh, I'm saying after they ran Macrosario and it's a fake address and a fake name, why didn't they give us the fake address and name? That should have been out there. Even though you know it's fake, it doesn't matter. Have you seen, has this person checked into your Airbnb? Has this person, why wasn't that given? Do you know what I'm saying? It's
I
just
wonder if
bizarre
they
to
did. We
me.
just didn't know about it.
That's what I'm saying. There could have been a lot of things law enforcement was doing that isn't leaked to the media because again, they're trying to let the media only hear what they want the public to know about so that the person is thinking they got away with it. There's a lot of manipulation that is legal but a little sketchy, right? So I don't know that we don't know what they knew about. And just because they didn't announce it to the public doesn't necessarily mean they're lying for nefarious reasons. They could have been just like, we got to keep it under wraps that we know more than we know because we want the killer to think that he's gotten away with it and have no idea that we're hot on his trail. We know exactly who he is.
Right.
Right,
So
but they
they,
weren't hot on his trail at that point, is what I'm saying. They were hot on someone else's trail for.
Right,
They wasted 3 days.
right.
Mark
On a dead.
Rosario
Yeah.
led them for 3 days on the run, and
Right.
that was before they even called Lulu's mom. It's
Yeah.
just bizarre to
wasn't
me.
it? It was a detective from San Francisco that talked to New York. So then you're saying New York then called his mom? I didn't know about that part.
Um,
A San Francisco police officer who was working the case in California looking for
Hmm.
the missing person, I believe, called New York and said, I think this is the same guy that you guys have up there who may be on this missing persons case that I've been doing down here in California.
they
Right. So
called the FBI, not New York, and the
Yeah.
FBI called mom. And then that's when mom said, I can see him doing that probably in regards to the hostel. And it was the same day we get the eyebrow photo.
okay, I thought they talked to her after they had him in custody.
I want
No, it was before, which is crazy to me because the San Francisco connections always drove me absolutely insane. There's like 5 to 6 missing persons reports filed daily in San Francisco, and some guy is sitting there on a random Friday afternoon. And keep in mind, this is before we get the eyebrows. We did not get eyebrows. We just had Jake Gyllenhaal.
So
And
Sam,
you mean to tell me from Jake Gyllenhaal, how many men have good looking smiles in America? You thought, hey, that Ivy League student that I heard about last month, I bet that's him. Really? That made you call the FBI?
wow.
well, I
I
wonder
could
if it's
see
the
the eyebrow
connection.
photo.
I wonder if it's the
Sorry.
connection back east. Because if San Francisco knew that he had a connection back east in Baltimore, I wonder if that raises flags of going, oh, this person that's missing here is there's something going on over there. I wonder if they're the same. I don't know.
Baltimore and Manhattan are not the same.
I want to interrupt. I want to
And
interrupt for a
I
second,
think
ladies.
it's
Hold on. I want to interrupt because there's something that's getting lost that I wanted to share real quick. This idea earlier that was presented that his mom may have said something to the effect of, I can see my son being that person, that
Mm.
gets misconstrued as she saying her son may be the shooter, when maybe all she was saying is, I can see my son being the type that checks into a hostel, is the same thing, and I'll be fairly brief. Same thing that happened 12 or so years ago with James Holmes, the shooter in Aurora, Colorado, when they woke his mom up in the middle of the night and said, are you Arlene Holmes, mother of James Holmes? And she said, yes, you've got the right person. And they reported in the
Oh,
paper the next
right,
day that his mother said that they got the right person in the shooting. And she's like, that's not what
right.
I freaking said. I said, I'm his mother, you got the right person. So they manipulate words for the headline the next morning. Even his own mother said they got the right person when she was asked if, her son was the shooter. And that's not what she said. And she hired a
Right.
legal team to fight that crap. So,
I'm really surprised that we haven't actually heard more about them saying that they twisted the words. Like, I'm shocked. Like, I
from
know
what, from
the
the
family has,
family.
yeah, I know they've been really quiet. I know that, we haven't seen them in court, all of that kind of stuff. But to let a false narrative like that live, I don't know. Like, if it was me, I'd be like, oh, please go tell them that I didn't twist it like that. I don't know. But then, there's the whole like going back to San Francisco. It does irk me that mom didn't know that True Car hadn't been in San Francisco for a very long time and that she thought he was living in San Francisco. That just hurts my
Well,
heart.
from what I understood, but so
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
What from what I understand is TrueCar had a San Diego branch and they had an office in San Francisco. Didn't they still have an office in San
No,
Francisco?
San Francisco was closed long ago,
Okay.
before he started.
Okay.
But the
Yeah.
thing is, he was a nomad. He was, he's in like he's just traveling and working.
Yeah.
So there was time, like he could have just told her, there's no office there. I'm not going to work there every day. He's a nomadic worker, which everybody on the planet is. I feel like, and since 2020,
Well, it
everybody's
just makes me
traveling with
feel
their computers and
right. It makes me
working.
feel bad that she didn't know that he was in Hawaii. Like it tells me about the relationship there. If
Oh,
she
it's
doesn't,
it's heart wrenching, and I'm sure she's beat herself up more than we can imagine for not getting on a plane and trying to go find him. I'm sure she's just devastated
Those
50
things
times
don't
over.
bother me as much as they bother you guys. I don't think, because I feel like if he's an independent man and he's out, going on some travel around, the world kind of thing, I don't know that you have to tell your mom he's a grown man.
might
So he
not have
doesn't
to
need to
tell your
tell his
mom, but
mom where he's
I
going.
think moms would ask. At least I'm in my 40s, and my mom wants to know what I'm having for dinner, what I'm doing this weekend, where I went. I mean, so there, I think either mom's not asking doesn't mean he has to tell her, but I have a hard time with her having two daughters that she's not asking these questions or curious where he is.
And that's
Right.
fair. And I don't want to make it sound like, oh my gosh, that bell, if my wife needs to take care of that because it's driving me nuts. But anyways, to be fair, my mother never knew what the hell I was doing. I'm not close to my mother. My mother passed away, by the way. But the point being is that she didn't know where I was at any time. So I don't know how close the family is or isn't. People are trying to say, oh, this family was super close. They would have known everything about their son and where he was at all times. And how did he just go off the radar for 6 months and them not know about it? I don't know if it's
Look at the
improving how
family
close that
though.
family is.
Yeah.
So the family, these big family gatherings, there's, events at the family. I think it's a family golf course,
Country club.
country club.
Two
There's
two country clubs.
these families, if you go onto Facebook, they're traveling with each other, they're spending time with each other. This family does a lot together. And so, and then you'll notice he's not in a lot of the pictures, which I think is also interesting. So at some point, he was in a lot of them, and then he stopped being in a lot of them, which I
Yeah.
think is interesting.
Well,
And he
well,
could have
because
just
he's at
started,
he's in college and then he traveled instantly.
Right.
To be
yeah, but the
honest.
sisters are there and the other cousins that,
Well, because the sisters all live there. They are Baltimore to the core. Nobody's left.
his sister
Lulu
lives in
left.
Texas.
So this is a perfect example of leads that I don't follow up on terribly much, because I'm not sure how I feel about weighing in on whether or not he was or wasn't close to his family, whether or not it should have or shouldn't have missed a wedding, I mean, all those things are
Yeah.
speculations about a man's character that I don't know, frankly, enough about his character to say whether or not him missing somebody's wedding was a big deal or not. But people are
Yeah.
making
Well,
a
the
big deal out
wedding
of it.
was a
I
big
don't
deal
know.
because he promised his friend he would be there.
Right, but
Yeah.
and I get that. Like, I'm not trying to argue with you, but I'm saying is that I
No.
I promise things that I don't always follow up on. That doesn't make me a horrible human being, and nor does it make me a murderer just because I told somebody I'd do something when I wasn't. Right.
Well, your
So
friend might think it does.
right,
Right.
fair, fair.
And here's the thing that everybody sort of preaches, mental health and mental health awareness, and we need to talk about it more and have respect for people going through things. Yet people do scrutinize him for taking space, not telling his parents, and also his mom for not knowing where he is and stuff. We have no idea what transpired between them. We don't know if he begged them for space and said, I need this, and she was trying her hardest to give him that, even though we just don't know. And I also can't stand when people pile on over missing a friend's wedding. It's like,
No, yeah, it's one of those things. Like, I don't mind having the conversation, but I'm personally
yeah. But
I
if he
kind of
was
stay
in
out of it.
crisis and not doing well, then that's where he was. I mean,
Right,
and
right.
clearly he was. Whether or not he was even in Manhattan at the time of the event, 2024 was not a good year. And it was clear there was something happening within him, and he was looking for something. He was
Well,
looking for something.
As you know, and I'll be brief, as you know, you and I don't agree on he was in a mental crisis. I don't believe there's any support for him being in a mental crisis at all. But having said that, I understand why that's said, and it's good for the conversation. But I just, again, for those who are watching my thing, I don't want to give silent ID, because I don't like that we keep saying he had a mental issue, or that he was, because there's been no evidence.
Oh, no. It doesn't even have to be crisis or a mental thing. I'm not trying to, he's telling everybody he needs space. So that is a mental health situation, if you want to call it. If you don't want to use the word crisis, he removed himself from people and said he's requiring space. So he completely changed how he lived 26 years.
Sure.
So that's something. He's searching for something.
I think there were also little cues maybe that he wasn't entirely like his family. And I go back to the Goodreads review where his mom talks to him about cutting his food. I think in that moment where he said, the thing you think is important, I'm not going to want to spend time with a person that thinks that thing that you think is important. I think there's a little bit of him that might be just a little bit different than the family. There's, a real frugalness to him, not to say that his family isn't, but,
And this is where this is where my big interest is. I think I'm getting close to wrapping up for the night, but this is where my big interest is in tomorrow night's special on Investigation Discovery, is they're going to try to analyze this kid's personality based on what he wrote on Reddit and Twitter and things like this, right? So they're going to do all this deep dive into what was going on in his head. And I don't know that I'm comfortable to read a Twitter post here and there or whatever and say that I can build a psychological profile on him. But that's what I think is going to happen in tomorrow's show. So I'm really curious to see what they show. I'm really curious to know whether it's been vetted and we know for 100% that he's the one that wrote all the things they're going to say that he wrote when they start to analyze his psychology and what was going on in his head. But I want to remind everybody, as I'm getting close to wrapping up now, because again, this bell's going off over here. Like the house must be on fire. They don't know what the hell happened to my wife, but she's not answering the bell. So I need to now get off the live and go find out and make sure that there isn't like a house burning down around me or something. But in the final thoughts for tonight, I want to say, one, thank you, Lady Capulet and Just Curious, for coming on. I hope you guys haven't taken offense that I disagree with some things that you guys say, and then we have to because again, this is what makes the show interesting. I appreciate everybody who's come in tonight and left comments. I will be on tomorrow night, an hour after the special airs, it'll be a 7 p.m. Pacific time for me, or Pacific Standard Time. I don't know if it airs different times across the country. So that's when I'm going to go on. It's going to air for me on the West Coast at 5 o'clock at night. It'll be over by 6. I'll be doing my initial thoughts, quick take on the thing at 7. And on Wednesday, my normal scheduled time, I'll be doing a deep dive into everything that was put in there and what I've fact-checked and what I feel about it in a deeper dive. Any parting thoughts you ladies want to say on the way out?
Just thank you for the random invite. No, and good conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you both.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming on the show. And everybody just keep a level head. Allow us to all have different opinions on this. And
I know it's just.
And we will meet again.
It's so bizarre that people also twist. I mean, Mermaid again in the comments saying I'm lying. I didn't say a single lie.
Yeah, it's difficult. People are all heated and emotional about this.
Right,
so
right. And again, I was not calling him mentally ill.
Yeah, but I'm super sensitive about it, so that's why
needing a mental health break is something as simple as just saying I need space tonight and I'm not going to dinner or happy hour that I said I was going to. That is literally when we're supposed to respect people's boundaries. That was what I was trying to say, Mermaid. Keep your knickers untwist.
On that, I will post this live. It was way longer than I thought. I may edit out the first 30 or 40 minutes because it seems like we were doing nothing for a while and then it exploded. So I may save people the headache of having to listen to nothing and kind of get to the meat of it. But either way, in a couple hours after this show, I'll have it up on my YouTube channel if you want to see that. It's also will be featured video on my website, devilsadvocates.info. So thank you, everyone, for coming, and have a great night. I'll see you again tomorrow night after the special for those who are.
Yeah, thank you both.
Thanks. Have a good one. Bye.